What are the first 3 steps that you as an employer can take in sponsoring a foreign national for employment here in the United States? That's what we're talking about on today's episode of Live at Lunch. My name is Emily Sumner with Sumner Immigration Law. And a lot of times our clients or prospective clients say that it can be daunting or intimidating to think about the process of sponsoring or potentially sponsoring a foreign national for immigration purposes here in the United States. And it's not wrong, right? There are so many options. There are different ways that you can go about doing it, whether it's a temporary visa classification or a permanent visa classification, but it does not have to be complicated or daunting. We are here to walk you through the process step by step. So I wanted to take a minute today to walk you all through what the process looks like when an employer or prospective employer comes to me for the first time and says, Emily, I'm thinking about sponsoring this particular person for immigration in the United States. Where do I start? So there are 3 questions or 3 kind of basic steps that we take from the very beginning. That's what we're going to walk through today. This video is intended for employers. So that might be the owner of a small to medium business. It might be HR leaders in medium, small, large businesses. It might be global mobility managers, any number of people, or it might be recruiters, but any number of professionals who are working with foreign nationals who would like to, or rather employers who would like to sponsor foreign nationals to work here in the United States. That's what this video is intended for. And for if you are an individual foreign national, or if you're an employer who isn't sponsoring someone right now, but is considering doing it in the future, you might find this information helpful as well. So the very first thing that we ask when we're talking to an employer or prospective employer who's thinking of sponsoring someone for immigration is to clarify the role and the candidate. So we always want clear information about what is the role that you're trying to fill. What is the job title? What is the job description? And it doesn't have to be anything formal, but we just need a general idea of what this person is going to be doing or what the position is responsible for. And what are the requirements for the position in terms of the education, any specific skills. We talk about licensure if that's needed, that type of thing. So if we think about it, this information is not different from information that you would need to fill a position in general, right? If you have an open position or if you're creating a position within a company, that's all basic information that you really need to have in order to properly fill that position. So we, as immigration lawyer professionals or immigration law professionals, as immigration lawyers, we need that information to be able to help you come up with a clear path for success. We need that information about the proposed job title, job duties, responsibilities, education that's required, and we need information about the specific person that you have in mind, if you have someone in mind. We need information about that person's background, their education, their degrees, their types of the field of study, how much experience they have, any specific skills, what licensure they hold already, if any, here in the United States, if that's required, that type of thing. We need that information because there's so many different options in terms of employment-based immigration here in the United States. So we, as immigration lawyers, need that information to be able to help direct you as the employer to possible options, because not all of them are going to be options, right? That simplifies the process some, because not every single visa classification is going to be possible for any given position, but we can help you narrow down the ones that you should be looking at and potentially considering. Step number 2 is to gather the basic information. So it's always helpful before we talk to an employer or prospective employer about them possibly helping a foreign national to be able to work in the United States, sponsoring them to work in the United States. Basic information that's really helpful to have is a copy of the foreign national candidate's CV or resume, an ideal or proposed timeline for when the employer needs or wants this person to begin working in the United States. I'm not saying that we're always able to adhere to that. Some people say, oh, we need them yesterday or next week. That may or may not be a possibility depending on the situation, but it's helpful for us to be able to understand what your goals are, what your needs are, that type of thing. It's helpful for us to know as immigration lawyers where the person is right now. Are they in the United States right now? And if so, what is their current immigration status? It's also helpful for us to know what country or countries are they a citizen of. So if you've ever talked to me before about potentially sponsoring someone for immigration, you have heard me say, all right, what country are they a citizen of? Where were they born? Because that could be different. And are they a citizen of any other country? And the reason I ask that is because there are different visa options available, that some visa options are available based on a person's citizenship. So if they live in one country, for example, or maybe they're a citizen of country A, but they're also a citizen of country B, that can open up possibilities. So that's the reason that we ask that. We ask if they're not in the United States before, have they been in the United States before, and what visa classification have they used? We want to make sure that there aren't restrictions that we need to be aware of that would dictate the strategy for them. So again, all of this information helps us as immigration lawyers map out the process for you. It helps narrow down from this big bucket of options, of potential immigration options. It helps us narrow it down to just a few, fewer options, which sounds potentially bad, but it helps us really focus on what's actually potentially possible for your particular candidate. And then step number 3 is to talk to a professional. Believe it or not, I have talked to so many people over the years, well-meaning employers over the years, who have looked online and said, oh, this is it's forms that we need to submit, and we can absolutely do this. We can complete this form. We don't need to pay a lawyer to help us walk through that process. And there's some people, if they are properly trained and have experience with this and know what they're doing, then potentially they can get through it okay. There's so many times, countless times, that I've talked to employers who have not done it properly, who have missed a chance for their employee, this talent that they have found and they're really excited about, and they haven't done something properly. Again, well-meaning, they don't mean to have messed it up. But if they had talked to an immigration lawyer, if they had worked with an immigration lawyer, they would have a clear path forward. So the kind of third step here is schedule a strategy call to talk with an immigration lawyer, whether that's me or another qualified immigration attorney. That is what we are here for. You are not alone. It is, I would say, nearly impossible to navigate, like I said, unless you have specific training in immigration law. It is next to impossible to navigate the system if you don't know the ins and outs of the system. So that's what we're here for. We do this day in and day out, and we help employers like you navigate the system every day to help them reach their business goals and to help their employees reach their professional and personal goals. The other thing that I'll say is to try to go into that call that you have with, whether it's me or another qualified immigration attorney, go into it with realistic expectations. You may not know what to expect, right? That's why you're having the call. But go into it knowing that the lawyer, or I, for example, if you're having a call with me, I might make a recommendation that you hadn't considered before. Or you might have your heart set on option A, and I might say, you know what, that's not a realistic possibility, but you can consider options B and C. Or timelines are always a consideration. So we go into it knowing that it's not an overnight process. That doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to take years and years. That's not the case, generally speaking, depending on the options that are available. But go into it kind of with an open mind and saying, all right, I'm here to learn. I'm here to see what my options are, and to know that it is not impossible to do. It does not have to be a nightmare. It doesn't have to be overly complex, as long as you have a guide who is with you step by step along the way, making sure that you ultimately are able to reach the goal that you have in mind. So keep in mind, final takeaway, you do not have to do this alone. We are here to help. I hope that you have found this information helpful. If so, I hope you'll share this video with a family member or a friend. And I hope that you will subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our next video. Until next time, my name is Emily Sumner with Sumner Immigration Law. Thank you so much for joining us, whether you joined us live or caught the replay on Live at Lunch. Again, Sumner Immigration Law, we help clients from around the world and around the United States with employment-based and family-based immigration matters. Until next time.